So last class we started discussing about budget constraints, because this is very, very important here, because ultimately your budget will decide how much money you are going to spend after X and Y. X and Y is the two commodities that you are purchasing with the help of M. M is your budget available for purchasing X and Y. Although by default we assume M is your disposable income. But in our present context, M represents the money available for purchasing X and Y. Any points on that budget line you can reach, or any points below that budget line represents underutilization of your budget, but any point beyond that budget line you cannot reach unless your budget increase or per unit price of X or Y is changed, and so and so. Now, this budget line in general maybe a straight line most of these cases, and about other issues I will come, but this budget line may change. Like, think about a situation where only your budget increase, all other things are at certain level. Think about a situation like a situation where your budget line is here, AB, only your income increase, income change, it may increase, it may decrease also. Suppose income increase, all other things are at certain level, means per unit price of X and Y is not changing. Consumer's taste and preference is not changing. Consumer is still looking for more quantity of X and Y. So ultimately, if only income change, M change, then budget line will shift parallelly. But otherwise, budget line may shift in other way also. Sometimes budget line is AB. All other things are at certain level, only price of X decrease. Then you will purchase more quantity of X. Then budget line will shift in this way. Or in other way also it may shift it also, if price of Y change and so and so. So there is a possibility that budget line may shift parallelly, budget line may not shift parallelly also. Okay. Now, I am bringing this concept of budget into your indifference curve analysis. Indifference curve we were discussing that previous lecture. In an indifference map, when there are so many indifference curve, so there will be some indifference curve where your budget will cut. Like, this is your budget line, AB. Suppose this is an indifference curve, like this. This is an indifference curve, another indifference curve, like this. This is another indifference curve, like this, so and so. They are parallel to each other, more or less. Okay. Now, if this is the case, and suppose this is your IC1, this is IC2, this is IC3, so and so. Now here, with your limited budget, you need to purchase X and Y. Okay. Now, at the same time, in your first lecture also I mentioned that consumer is such a person that all the time he or she try to maximize his or her utility. In such a case, with his or her limited utility, he will try to maximize his utility, or he will try to spend his budget in such a way that efficient utilization of resources take place, and ultimately his wellness, welfare, or utility become maximum. So even if we assume a situation that he or she is always try to utilize fully M or budget, then any point on that budget line will, by default, we will select any point on this budget line. So if this is the case, then there may be a possibility that we may get 3 different points. Say point, say M, N, and suppose P. Now, as a rational consumer, what combination of X and Y you are going to purchase from this M and P? Simple understanding. Which combination of X and Y you are going to purchase? Can you see that one? Are you there or not? Can you see, as well as can you see this one?
Yes, sir.
So where are you going to purchase? Which
P.
out of these 3? Pardon?
Sir, at P.
Now the question is why at P? Now here you see, if you purchase at M and N and P, all are on budget line, so budget is fully utilized, and that is your basic objective, is that to spend money after X and Y fully, not to save money, because that money is assigned for X and Y only. Now at P you are purchasing it because P is at higher indifference curve. That will give you higher indifference curve, means higher utility. So by default you will look for P. So under a given situation here, under a given situation with limited money and specific price of X and Y, if you purchase at P, then your utility will be maximum. This point is called your, or when a consumer is maximizes his or her utility under a given budget constraints, then we say that consumer will be at his or her equilibrium position. So P will basically give the consumer his equilibrium position. So this point is called consumer's equilibrium. Consumer's equilibrium. A consumer will be said to be in his or her equilibrium position when he or she maximizes his or her utility under a given budget constraints. Okay. So for consumer's equilibrium, there must be fulfillment of 2 conditions. There must be fulfillment of 2 conditions. First condition is what? There are 2 conditions. One is your first condition or first order condition or necessary condition. Second is second order condition or a supplementary condition. Necessary condition or first order condition and supplementary condition or second order condition. 2 conditions are there. To be in consumer's equilibrium, you need to fulfill these 2 conditions. You need to fulfill these 2 conditions. Okay. The first condition or necessary condition, first order condition or necessary condition is that MRS, X for Y or Y for X. In this case, it will be XY, something like that. It will be PX by PY. MRS, marginal rate of substitution. Do you remember? MRS, marginal rate of substitution. It is the rate at which one commodity is substituted by the other. Yeah, please.
Sir, why the E is maximum?
No, suppose you have 100 rupee. You have 100 rupee. Before answering your question, I am asking you a question. Simple. You have 100 rupee. Will you not try to utilize this 100 rupee in a best efficient way? Suppose desperately you need some Desperately, you need a needle for stitching or something, hypothetically. Instead of purchasing a needle, you are spending your 100 rupee for purchasing maybe some other commodity. Will you do that one? Or whatever is in your preference list, desperately you are looking for that item, any item, you will try to purchase. So as a rational consumer, you will try to purchase that commodity with your limited income, which you need most. You will not want to see that 100 rupees simply wastage of money. Then I would say that it is your irrational behavior. In this case, your question is what? Why at P? Is it your question or what?
Yes, sir. Why is maximum at P?
Then what? Instead of P, you want to purchase at M or N? Fine. If it is M and N, then also your budget is fully utilized. But M and N is in your IC1. IC1 and IC2, what is the difference? Properties, you know, the other day, what I mentioned here, properties, forced properties.
More level of utility.
Yeah,
Sir,
so
your
higher
duty is
the
more
indifference cap,
correct.
higher will be the level of utility. So at P, you see in comparison to M and N, P is in higher indifference cap, IC2. So utility will be more. Your wellness or welfare will be more. That combination will give you more welfare or wellness or more utility in comparison to that combination at M and N. So you look for P, is it not?
Yes, sir. It is, sir.
Okay. Now MRS equal to necessary condition or first order condition is that MRS equal to PX by PY. So what is MRS? It is the rate at which one commodity is substituted by the other. Do you remember MRS? Del Y by del X, you remember? And what is PX by PY? Here?
Price.
No, not simply price. If you say simply price, PX by PY or PY by PX, what does it mean? Is it not the slope of this line? PX by PY is slope of your budget line. Anyway, so how you consider? It may be PY by PX also, or it may be PX by PY also. So first order condition is that MRS equal to PX by PY. So slope of your indifference curve is equal to slope of your budget line. And second order condition is that first order condition must be fulfilled. First order condition must be fulfilled at highest possible indifference curve. Second order condition or supplementary condition is that first condition must be fulfilled at highest possible indifference curve, because first condition may be fulfilled in three points, or in between also there may be many more indifference curve. I have drawn only 3, or in between also there may be many more before and after, because this is an indifference map. So this budget line will cut so many indifference curves. But to a particular indifference curve, it will be tangent. And we are basically concentrating on that particular point of tangency. So second order condition is that first order condition must be fulfilled at highest possible indifference curve. And highest possible indifference curve in this case is happening only at point P. In one sentence, consumer's equilibrium will be that point where budget line is tangent to indifference curve. Point of tangency will give you consumer's equilibrium. Clear? Now be careful about 2-3 things. One is, first of all, this terminology equilibrium. This equilibrium we are discussing here in the context of consumer's equilibrium. Okay. Now later part you will use you will get that word again in other contexts like market equilibrium and so and so. Just like that marginal concept, marginal utility, you remember? I mentioned marginal utility, marginal revenue, marginal cost, marginal product, different concept, you will get it using the word marginal. Same is the case here, equilibrium, you may get it later part with respect to market equilibrium. So when we discuss market equilibrium, and if you think about consumers, you will be in trouble. So be careful about it. Now, these are two conditions. Now, there are some other derivation also like corner point or corner solution, means extreme cases, extreme choice. Sometimes your budget line will be slope is such that this point of tangency is happening somewhere here in corner point. Then accordingly, your some of that narration or discussion will vary. I am not going to elaborate those exceptional cases right now, okay? But rather, I am going to discuss further some of that aspects. Some of that aspects means, suppose in general this is happening, and now onwards I will talk only about equilibrium position only, equilibrium point. From this whole exercise till now, what we identified only one point. And it may be multidimensional also. So ultimately for an individual consumer, an equilibrium position will be that point where budget line will be tangent to indifference curve, point of tangency. Now the case is different kind of situation may develop here. Suppose think about an situation for normal goods. Most of the cases by default we assume that, okay, another two terminology is coming into picture. I use the word normal good. In economics, for the time being, later on again I will discuss it little bit more. In economics, you have to assume right now certain things. In economics, there are terminology like or different kind of goods are there, like normal goods, luxury goods, essential goods, inferior goods, like that. So normal goods are those goods whose demand increase along with increase in income. If tomorrow your income, suppose right now your income is 5,000 rupees, you have some demand pattern. Tomorrow your income become 10,000. Then most of these commodities, because when your income is very, very limited, you were not in a position to purchase all the item or sufficient quantity of that item. But when your income increased, you started purchasing more and more of that commodity, more quantity of that commodity, along with some new or new commodities. So normal goods are those goods whose demand increase along with increase in income. Demand is increasing along with increase in income. Okay, but there may be some kind of good whose demand decrease along with increase in income. The goods are called inferior good. We'll discuss it later part. But by default, most of these cases we discuss about normal goods by default in economics. Just like we assume that consumer is a rational human being. Similarly, for goods also by default, unless we define it other way, we assume that it is a normal good. Okay, we discuss it like a normal good. So a situation may happen or a situation may arise where suppose your budget line is like this, AB, indifference curve is like this, and equilibrium position is here. Suppose IC1, P is your equilibrium position, so and so. Now what happened? Your income increase. Suppose all other things are at certain level, income increase. Few minutes back I was drawing this one, you remember? Here. When I assume that only your income increase, all other things are at certain level, then what will happen? Budget line will shift parallelly upward because income increase. So when budget line will shift parallelly, what will happen? Suppose you got a new
money with you.
pardon?
You got more amount of money with you.
Yeah, so you will purchase both more quantity of both X and Y because I assume that both X and Y are a normal commodity. So you got a new budget line which is termed as suppose A dash and B dash. New budget line shift parallelly because suppose when you are at point P, you were having limited budget of AB, represented by AB budget line. But your budget increase because your income increase. So you can spend more amount after both X and Y. How you spend it is purely depend upon you, but you will purchase because I assume that both X and Y are normal commodity. Means if your income increase, you will purchase more quantity of X and Y because actually you require more quantity of X and Y. Earlier I assumed that it is a constraint because you have limited money. Although your requirement is much higher, you cannot purchase more because you have limited money. But tomorrow suppose your income increase, money is increase under your possession or which is allotted for X and Y, that money is increase. So you will purchase more quantity of X and Y. It may be proportionate, it may not be proportionate. Your purchase. But when you require both X and Y more quantity, might be it may happen that you are spending proportionately, then your budget line is shifting parallelly upward. Then this budget line will cut so many indifference curve, but to a particular indifference curve, it will become tangent. Okay. So ultimately, you are getting a new equilibrium position. You are getting a new equilibrium position, say point Q. Suppose your income further increase. You got another budget line. This will be again tangent to some indifference curve somewhere. IC1, this is suppose IC2, this is suppose IC3, so and so, it will go on. Ultimately, your equilibrium position are changing if income increase. If tomorrow your income decrease, budget line will shift downward. That is also another possibility. So if it happen in that way, and you are joining those equilibrium positions, suppose, then you are getting a line or curve. If you join those points, ultimately you are getting a line. This is called your ICC. This line is called or curve is called ICC. ICC means income consumption curve. This is called income consumption curve. This is called income consumption curve. What does it represent? Income consumption curve. It is the locus of points representing various combination of two commodities. Locus of points representing various combination of two commodities, X and Y, we are discussing it here. Okay. That is purchased by a consumer at different level of your income because your budget is changing and you are moving from P to Q, Q to R. So this P, Q, R represents different combination of two commodities, or it is the locus of points of equilibrium that represents different combination of two commodities a consumer purchase at different level of his or her income. All other things are at certain level. Means per unit price of X and Y is not changing. Consumer's taste and preference is not changing. Consumer is still looking for more quantity of X and Y, and so and so. So it is the locus of points of equilibrium that represents different combination of two commodities a consumer purchase at different level of his or her income. All other things are at certain level. This is your income consumption curve. Indirectly, it represents your consumption pattern. Tomorrow, if your income change, all other things are at certain level, but only income change, you will follow this particular consumption pattern. This is your income consumption curve. Okay. From this income consumption curve, C.L. Engel, one German statistician in 19th century, almost 100 years before his work starts in 200 years before, means he was working extensively during his period in 1821 to 1896, his period. He was doing extensive work on the relationship between consumers' income and quantity purchase. Now, what is happening here? When you are at point, when your budget line is AB budget line AB represents what? Your say budget is suppose M1. AB, when your budget is M1, budget line is AB, and you are purchasing at point P. When budget is increase, suppose M2, then it become M3, so and so. Then what you are doing it? You are purchasing, say, this much quantity of X, that is represented by suppose X1. Here it is equilibrium quantity. Equilibrium quantity, suppose this is X2. This represents suppose X3. These are equilibrium quantity of X. Similarly, equilibrium quantity of Y also you can draw it to Y axis. What in Engel curve, what we are doing it, from ICC curve only you can draw an Engel curve. So what we are doing it here, we are considering in X-axis, we are considering this equilibrium quantity of X you are purchasing at different level of your income, M1, M2, M3. So here I am considering this, suppose X1, X2, and X3. That you are purchasing. So Y-axis, instead of considering Y, other commodity, they are considering M, means budget. So X1 you are purchasing when your budget is M1. So Y-axis they are considering, suppose this is M1. Y-axis they are considering M. When your budget is M2, you are purchasing X2. So you get some value. So that value is suppose here. So this is M2. And it is M3, suppose. Corresponding here is M3. When it is at M3, you are purchasing M3, you are purchasing X3 quantity, equilibrium quantity. So they identify in Y-axis, they are considering the income, and X-axis, they are considering equilibrium quantity you are purchasing. And they are joining those points. Ultimately, they are getting a similar kind of shape curve. But this curve shows only the relationship between income and equilibrium quantity of a commodity. This is called Engel curve. Named after the German statistician C.L. Engel, Christian Lorenz Ernst Engel, I think, C.L. Engel. Okay. And he was doing extensive work on consumers' income and equilibrium quantity and consumption of a commodity, and it was developed in that way. That to draw an Engel curve, you have to have the information of ICC curve, because how will you know different budget level, what will be that equilibrium quantity, X1, X2, X3? That information is coming from ICC curve. Then he shows only the relationship between different level of your income and Angel curve means equilibrium quantity you purchase. Okay. Because yeah.
So then what is the difference between this angel curve and income consumption curve? Because
In
both are
diagram,
representing the same points.
Same points, but the diagram itself is showing, because in angel curve you will not find out that other commodity, they are totally missing. Other commodity, they are not mentioning it anymore. They are simply studying the relationship between income and consumption of a particular commodity, in this case X. Suppose it is an inferior good. What will happen? Shape will be something like this, because here you are considering X is inferior good, and Y axis you are not considering any more Y. It is only your income. Okay. Along with increase of income, what you are happening? You are studying the consumption pattern with respect to income only.
Earlier, sir, that was in between two commodities, and now it is with respect to income and overall commodity.
Exactly. So that is the difference is there, definitely. But the case is, at what income, how much quantity of X you are purchasing, that information is coming from angel curve only. So for ICC curve only. Because individually you may purchase it, but behind the scene, you remember, behind the scene your consumption basket is there, because we are talking about equilibrium quantity, PQR. Here we are talking about equilibrium quantity with respect to two commodity, but in consumption basket, in reality there are n number of items, and as I say, actual diagram will be n plus one dimension. One dimension will represent your that utility. In reality, situation is like that. But here you are not considering anymore your all other commodities. Behind the scene it is there, but you pick up only the quantity of a particular commodity you are purchasing at different level of your income. But while purchasing that commodity, if you say that no, I am ignoring all other commodity in my consumption basket, that is not happening behind the scene. Okay, human brain is like that. Might be in fraction of second you are doing it. You are taking a judgment based on your own requirement. Okay, but ultimately you are taking a decision quickly, and while keeping that decision, definitely the other commodities are also in your mind. We have to assume that one.
Yes, sir, understood.
Do not confuse yourself that you are considering only one commodity. It may show that only one commodity is there in the diagram like X, but behind the scene, along with X, please remember that other commodities are also there, but we are silent about those commodities because we assume that you are taking the best judgment under a given situation. Anyway, so this is just some addition of that one. Okay, yeah.
So does the ICC curve starts from origin, or it's a random one something?
No, it most of this diagram you will find it is starts from origin only, because when your income is zero, diagram is not perfect, but when your income is zero, what will you do? I assume, because you see, when your income is zero, you are not purchasing X and Y, but gradually you will purchase maybe more and more quantity of X and Y. Is it not like that?
Yeah, it is.
And another issue is that another point I want to mention, that is your do not confuse about this slope. Usually we assume, because someone may say that no, I will purchase that same proportion because I am looking for both more quantity of X and Y. So it will be a straight line, someone may say. Because, okay, and as I discuss it, let me discuss also some other form of indifference curve. So sometime even in your indifference curve, in exceptional case, I'm telling you, when there is a perfect substitute, then indifference curve may be a straight line also. That possibility is also there. Okay. When there is a perfect substitution between your X and Y, then you may get an indifference curve which is a straight line. This is your perfect substitute. But this doesn't mean that always it is happening. This is one possibility I am just telling you. Okay, there is a perfect substitution between x and y. And sometimes even indifference curve may take a shape of like this. L-shaped. Okay. It may happen when there is a relationship between x and y is complementary to each other. Means complementary goods. X and y are complementary to each other. Then the shape of that indifference curve may be L-shaped. The meaning is like the other section I was already covered yesterday, day before yesterday. Like your say you have a four-wheeler and one driver, you do not know how to drive. So with that driver, as that driver is there, you are enjoying that car or enjoying that service of that car with the driver. Okay. But suppose you purchase one more car but without a driver. So what will happen then? That one, you do not know how to drive. So one driver can drive only one car. So ultimately you are not getting the benefit or enjoyment of both the cars together. Okay. That may be possible when you hire one more driver, then only you will be able to get its service. That service you may directly enjoy, or you may ask you enjoy in other way also. But whatever it is, that service is not utilized at all, because one driver, there is only one driver. If there is two drivers, then only you can utilize the service of that car. Same is the case. To move to, suppose, think about a situation. Suppose here you are in indifference curve, I see one. Certain level of y is there. You are consuming more and more quantity of, suppose here right now, you are consuming more and more quantity of x and x, more and more quantity. So it is increasing from x1, then x2, without increasing y. So and so. Without increasing y, you are spending more and more money for purchasing x only. Then also your utility may not go up. Because it is, although you spend and somehow you possess it, you are not getting its service, the benefit. To get this benefit fully, you have to increase both x and y at certain proportion. Then only you will be in a position to move to higher indifference curve. So there is a possibility that even indifference curve may be L-shaped. That possibility is there. Anyway, so what I want to discuss now is the other case. Suppose here, please remember, here I considered your increase in income and ultimately you got an ICC curve. And this is for a normal commodity. If it is an inferior good, it may get a different, altogether a different shape. Inferior goods, suppose X is inferior good. It may like this. I will elaborate it later on. Later on, I will elaborate it in your demand. Yeah.
Sir, in the ICC curve, you have as y-intercept, you have written M1, M2, M3. It should be M1 by Py, sir, right?
The M1 by P1 is the point. Here, this point represents your M1 by Py.
Yes, sir, that's what I was asking.
This point. But I am not writing this one to represent this point. Do not confuse. Here I am not representing this one point. While elaborating, you see the recording. I say that when your budget is M1, your budget line, you are purchasing X1 quantity. If I go to define this point, then it will be M1 by PX1. I didn't define those points, both the sides. I didn't go. I assume that by default you understand by this time because I already elaborated it here. You see here. Here m by px, m by py, those extreme points, and you are joining it. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, suppose a situation happen or arise like, let me change the color. Say, X, Y, your budget line is suppose AB, and your, sorry, and your indifference curve is something like this. Suppose this is IC1. Equilibrium position is suppose P. Situation is like that. Okay. Because basically, initially I was talking about, or few minutes back, I was talking about your income effect or income change. But now I want to talk about price change. Suppose all other things are at certain level, price of X decrease. Price of X decrease. All other things are at certain level. Means consumers' income is not changed. Consumers' taste and preference is not changed. Consume prior unit price of Y is also not changed. Only price of X, PX decrease. Consumer is still looking for more quantity of both X and Y because he is yet to attain the level of saturation. Then what will happen? Suppose you went to market. I told you might be in Monday, might be this example. I do not remember. Suppose you went to market to purchase a kg of tomato. Okay, with 50 rupee. 50 rupee is the price of tomato. And you went to market to purchase a kg of tomato. Okay, your requirement of tomato is much higher, maybe 10-15 kg, but right now you do not have money. Because of that, you went to market to purchase only 1 kg of tomato with 50 rupee. When you reach market, you find that tomato price is 25 rupee. What will you do? I asked you this question earlier. Yeah, please.
We'll take 2 kg of tomato then.
Okay. So someone may argue with me also that I will not purchase 2 kg. Why will I purchase? But behind the scene already I elaborated the situation that your requirement of tomato is 10-15 kg. Anyway, that controversy will come little bit later. We'll elaborate. I am not escaping it. I will even make it more complicated sometime later. But for the time being, what you are happening, you will purchase more quantity of tomato. It may be 2 kg because I may again argue with you also other way. Like where is the guarantee that tomorrow also it will be 25 rupee? It happens usually. So when market price is less, I'm desperately jumping on it to purchase more quantity if possible. When Amazon is giving some discount, might be people are jumping on it to purchase it today because there is no guarantee that tomorrow also that discount will be there or that some sort of subsidy will be there or so and so. Lower price will be there. So same is the case happening here also. A particular product you need more, you have limited money, but when you find in market that price of that commodity is decrease very much, then you will try to take the advantage of the situation. This is a human nature because there is no guarantee that tomorrow also tomato price will remain at 25. So how much you will additional tomato you will purchase, that is different issue. Okay, means what I mean to say, if I disaggregate your activity, purchasing activity, disaggregating, disintegrating, okay, then how we can look into it. I am spending too much time on elaborating those things. Anyway, like you purchase 1 kg, your immediate objective is what? immediate objective is to purchase 1 kg of tomato. So you purchase 1 kg of tomato. No one is going to do in this way. I am just disaggregating your activities, how it may happen. You purchase 1 kg of tomato immediately. So your immediate objective is fulfilled. After purchasing by paying 25 rupee. After that, you have 25 rupee in your hand. Question arises that how to utilize your this 25 rupee. But for the time being, are you not realizing that your a situation like your income increased by 25 rupee? Actually, income didn't increase, but as price of X decrease in this case, and you fulfill your immediate objective, which 25 rupee, still you have 25 rupee surplus in your hand. So for the time being, are you not feeling that your income increased by 25 rupee? This is called your income effect. Later on again, I will not discuss it because this concept will come after some time, maybe next class. This is called your income effect. Income effect of price change, because this is happening. Actually, income didn't increase. As price of X decrease, price of X change, you are realizing a situation like increase in income. Reverse also may happen. This is called income effect of price change. Another is substitution effect. Human being is having a substitution effect. Human being is having an inherent tendency of substituting costlier item by cheaper item. If please remember, if is important. If quality is more or less same, if quality is altogether different, then you can say that these two products, you can treat these products just like two different commodity. Quality is different. Then you cannot compare. But if quality is more or less same or almost same, then as a rational consumer, you will try to replace costlier item by cheaper item. And there is some justification because you have limited money. So if you can save some money here, either you will go for purchasing more quantity of that commodity or for some other commodity. There is a logic of that behavior, but this is an inherent tendency. This is called your substitution effect. So price change or price effect is a combination of price effect.
So can you?
So human being is having an inherent tendency of substituting costlier item by cheaper item if quality is more or less same. This will give you substitution effect. And income effect is that one, actually income didn't increase, but as price of X, suppose in our example tomato, price of X decrease, because of that you for a few seconds or for some time you realize that your income increase. Actually income didn't increase, but as price of X decrease, you realize that your income increase. This is called your income effect. So different economists already proved that price effect is a price effect means the effect you are realizing because of change in price. Price change, from price change, price effect is coming into picture. So price effect is a combination of income effect and substitution effect. Different economists already proved it. In our example, suppose price of X decrease. What you say? For the time being, you assume that someone may purchase 1 additional kg of tomato, someone may purchase half a kg of tomato, and rest amount they may spend even for Y. It again depends upon how far you are from your saturation point with respect to tomato. But initially, most of these consumer will try to purchase more quantity of X, no doubt about it. So when price of X decrease, consumption of X will increase. So your budget line is shifting to this one. It becomes, suppose, AB days. Initial budget line was AB. When price of X decrease, you will try to purchase more quantity of X. So budget line is shifting to AB dash. And this will become tangent to some indifference curve somewhere, because it will cut many indifference curve, but to a particular indifference curve, it will become tangent. It's something like this. This is happening. Suppose this is your IC2 and it is tangent at point Q. So as price of X decrease, your equilibrium position shift from P to Q, and corresponding value of X is what? Suppose this is X1, this is suppose X2. Suppose this is your X2. So consumption of X increase by X1, X2 as price of X decrease. So price effect is nothing but X1, X2. X1, X2 is your price effect. Because of change in price, because of decrease in price, consumption of X increase by X1, X2. That is your price effect. And that is a combination of income effect and substitution effect. Next class, I will try to find it out. It's individual component. I will try to disaggregate this price effect by using Hicksian approach and Slutsky's approach. Next class. But probably you observed this one. Then suppose price of X decrease further. Further price of X decrease. Then you purchase more quantity further. Then you move your budget line move further in this way. A, B, double dash. And it will become tangent to some indifference curve somewhere here. So it is R, suppose. Then if you join those points, you will get a curve. This curve is called your price consumption curve. PCC, price consumption curve. And in comparison to ICC, income consumption curve, here you are observing that price consumption curve is much more horizontal. Why? Because here we assume that price of X is decreasing or increasing, whatever it is. We assume that even price of Y is at certain level. So initially, this portion is much more horizontal, because initially you are looking for more quantity of X only. But later part, when you will gradually moving towards saturation with respect to X, along with X, you will start looking for more quantity of Y also, later part. But initially, you are concentrating more on purchasing more quantity of X. This is called price consumption curve. So it is price consumption curve, again, you can elaborate it in which way, or price effect, how you can elaborate it. It is the change in consumption basket due to change in price. Change in consumption basket means your consumption of X is increasing by X1, X2. Along with that, Y also may be marginally increased. I am silent about it. But ultimately, price effect represents change in your consumption basket because of change in price. So in this case, in terms of X, we assume that it is almost horizontal initial phase. So price effect is represented by X1, X2. Okay. And how we explained your price consumption curve. Similarly, just like your previous case also, it is the locus of points representing different combination of two commodities. Okay. Purchasing by a consumer at different level of your income, at different level of your income, that is happening because of change in price of a commodity. All other things are at certain level. You can explain in that way. Anyway, so tomorrow I will discuss it, elaborate it more about income. Tomorrow means next class, income effects, substitution effect, and that will be the end of this chapter. Then I will move on to your demand and supply. That I will try. Okay. Let me save it and